So I was scrolling through a veterinary Facebook group the other day, and I saw a post from an experienced technician saying that they started in a new clinic and they suddenly felt like they know nothing. Honestly, that post perfectly explains one of the biggest hidden problems in veterinary medicine that I see right now. Because I think we keep calling this a staffing crisis when a lot of the time, what we're actually seeing is an onboarding systems crisis. And the reason this matters is because veterinary medicine keeps losing really good people, not necessarily because they can't do the job, but because they enter environments that make learning feel unsafe, chaotic, or impossible. Here's what I mean. An experienced technician might walk into your hospital, and technically, yeah, they know veterinary medicine. But what they don't know your workflow, your doctors, your software, your inventory system, communication style, your hierarchy, your unspoken rules, how your team handles mistakes, whether asking questions is welcomed or silently punished. And I think veterinary medicine dramatically underestimates how exhausting that is cognitively, especially in hospitals that are already overwhelmed. Because what often happens, because what often happens is a hospital is understaffed. The senior team is burned out and nobody has time. Nobody has a formal training structure. So the onboarding becomes go shadow Sarah. Try to keep up. You'll figure it out. And the scary part is that's considered normal in a lot of clinics. Now, layer this onto the fact that research shows that nearly 20% of employee turnover happens within the first 45 days. So we have an industry saying we can't retain people while simultaneously onboarding people into operational chaos. That's not a people problem first. That's a systems problem. And honestly, I think veterinary medicine has normalized survival mode leadership for so long that we mistake adaptation for competency. Like, if someone survives the chaos fast enough, we call them good. But if they struggle, we call them not a fit. Here's the thing nobody really talks about, though. Even highly skilled people struggle in unclear systems. Actually, especially highly skilled people, because experienced people know when a system feels unstable. And one of the biggest myths in leadership is believing that if we were really good, they just figure it out. No, high performers still need clarity. They still need consistency and psychological safety. They still need repetition. They still need structure. In fact, organizations with structured onboarding improved retention dramatically compared to organizations without it, which honestly shouldn't surprise us because people learn faster when their nervous system isn't stuck in survival mode. And this is where I think vet med gets itself into trouble. We spend so much time talking about resilience without asking whether the environment itself is unnecessarily difficult to navigate. And you can see this operationally. Hospitals with poor onboarding usually also have inconsistent communication, role confusion, workflow bottlenecks, poor delegation, emotional reactivity, trainer inconsistency, dependency on tribal knowledge, all meaning that the system only works if certain people are physically there. That's not scalability. That's institutionalized chaos. And the cost of that chaos? It's enormous, not just emotionally, but financially. Because turnover costs money, burnout costs money, medical mistakes, inefficiency, constant retraining, they all cost money. One study estimated burnout costs the veterinary profession nearly $2 billion annually through turnover and reduced productivity alone. $2 billion. And yet, many hospitals still don't have onboarding maps, competency checklists, standardized training systems, communication frameworks, or 30, 60, 90-day expectations. Instead, we're relying on overwhelmed senior staff to somehow train new people while simultaneously drowning themselves. And then everybody wonders why tensions rise. Because the truth is, people don't learn well when they feel emotionally unsafe. And they definitely don't learn well when every mistake feels like a threat to belonging, which is why some of the best onboarding I've ever seen actually looks slower, more intentional, more repetitive, more structured. Not because the hospitals are soft, but because they understand something really important. Confidence comes before efficiency, not after. And honestly, I think this applies to leadership too. Because if your hospital depends on people magically absorbing chaos without support, you don't actually have an onboarding system. You have a survival filter. And those are two very different things. This is part of why I created my workbook in the first place, because I kept seeing veterinary leaders handed massive operational responsibility without actual leadership infrastructure. No onboarding systems, no communication frameworks, no clarity around expectations, no real playbook. Just figure it out. And eventually, I realized a lot of people are not failing because they're incapable. They're failing because nobody ever handed them a structure to lead from. So I built one. If you're trying to create more clarity in your hospital, more consistency, better onboarding, better communication, better leadership systems, the workbook comes out May 29th. I'll link it below. Not because a workbook magically fixes culture, but because sustainable teams usually start with clearer systems.